Hello, Ben. Welcome back to class for the Lesson 2 assignment critique. This is Carrie, and good to have you back on board. As I mentioned, feel free to upload your third photo whenever you get the chance. No rush, but meantime, I like what I'm seeing right here. You mentioned that this is a little bust that you found in a lobby and of Moses, and is called the in front of what's called the Tree of Life. And thanks a lot for including the kind of the overall view here, and a good job of seeing this and determining that there's a photo, a close-up photo of just the bus. And I like what you did. And let's go back to, so thanks again for this quote before photo that kind of shows what you saw, and then I like what you came up with here, just a real tight close-up of the face, upper part of the body, and then making interesting use of the background. And the background is really cool, mainly well, for a couple of reasons. One is that it's good and blurred, as it should be, and that was done with a combination of focusing close with a telephoto lens, and as you mentioned, wide aperture, low f number of f2.8. And that combination, close focusing, telephoto, and then a wide aperture, and then a distant background, blurred out the background very nicely, and which was important because you wouldn't want that background to have any sharper details that would really compete with the foreground subject. Here, everything's good and blurred, and then the kind of the design of colors and everything works well with the foreground subject, the bust. And look at this bust, has a lot of uh, um, texture and details, and so a good job of putting the focus right where it should be, right there, so the the foreground subject is good and sharp and really brings out those details as well as the texture. You can just reach out and feel like you can really feel the curves and the angles and that sort of thing here on the foreground subject, the bust. And there's a lot of depth to the scene. In fact, there's a lot of depth to the bust itself, the foreground subject, just because of the lighting hitting it partly from the side. And so everything's nicely lit up, but then it just creates all those just little combinations of light and shadow that form the texture. So well done. I like the fact that you caught it at a little bit, just a slight bit of an angle here, and then off center, and the vertical format works just perfectly. Oh, I wouldn't mind a little more space, perhaps above the head, but no, yeah, that's really not a huge thing because there is a little bit of space up there. And also, the fact that it's a vertical format and really tight composition just works for me. So well done, Ben. And on to your second photo. And good job here of seeing this scene and then photographing it. This you mentioned that this group of office buildings called the pyramids. Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of triangles going on here, a lot of lines, and in fact, you have these kind of leading lines that kind of go right down, and of course, they go right to where you found this fellow just standing against the wall. And in fact, you mentioned that you were driving by and saw him just dwarfed by the building. And so this is one of those scenes where it's you have the person in there to show scale, but at the same time, it's just a extra visual element that really grabs the attention. And then also the fact that he's all dressed in blue, not just because of his um, blue jeans, light blue there, but also his blue jacket or shirt. Can't tell what it is, but in any case, he's all in blue, but standing in the perfect spot. You can see that if somehow he was over right there against the blue part of the building, you might kind of blend in a little bit. Still stand out, but not as he does right here. Perfect place that he chose to stand and that you really saw. And so right up against the light gray part of the building, he just stands out. And this is really the power of the visual power of contrast, where you have there's only one person in the entire picture, and then that person is stands out against the background. The background here is just the light gray, and so he stands out there, and then among this amid this scene. So a nice job here in the vertical format, and then he's placed low in the frame. Good job, and there's just enough grass here just to kind of give a sense of quote grounding of the subject there, but not but just enough so it's not doesn't feel cramped down there at all, and just a good placement. So I wouldn't do anything with the composition at all. Just a perfect composition here with all the lines and angles and everything. And again, once again, that vertical format just really plays up these lines, and it just kind of makes sense. There are a lot of really strong verticals here, and then the vertical format lets those lines play out in the scene. Another thing is the only thing I might do here with the picture in post-processing is maybe to increase the contrast a little bit, and let's just give it a try. I'm in Photoshop, and I'm going to go to levels where we can work with the darks and the lights. And so I'm going to come in a little bit with the brights, but then on the right side, this is in, again, Photoshop levels, and then on the darks here, just coming in, and you can see it just, it makes these, of course, it works with the darks, darkening them, but at the same time, it also really makes the colors just pop out even more. Here's the original, and then here is just a little more contrast. Different ways of doing this in different programs, even in Photoshop and Lightroom, different ways of accomplishing the same thing. And if you have a program that, quote, just has a contrast slider, you might give that a try there, because that would do it very similarly. The reason I like levels or other similar type of controls is so I can manage the lights and darks a little bit separately to maybe increase one a little bit more than the other. And so I'm going back and forth on this just to see where it might look. And here's original, and then just with a little more color. So, and a little more contrast, which also beefed up the color. In any case, even the original works for me. So just a tip there, and for what it's worth, otherwise, been nice work on the second assignment. Thanks again for including that quote before shot for the bus. That was helpful just to see what you were seeing. And then nice work here. And then when you get a chance, feel free to upload that third photo. That's it for now, and then we'll talk to you again soon.